Welcome to the Alcohol Reset, the podcast that helps you reset your habits, health, and relationship with alcohol without judgment or extremes. If you're looking to cut back, take a break, or just understand how drinking can affect your body and mind, you're in the right place. Each episode brings you science-backed insights on neuroscience, nutrition, and habit change to help you feel better, sleep deeper, and take control on your terms. I'm Mike Hardenbrook, best-selling author, neuroscience enthusiast, and habit change expert. I've helped thousands through my book and podcast to rethink their drinking, and now I'm here to help you do the same. Let's get started. I'm Mike Hardenbrook, founder of Cloud9 and author of No Willpower Required. Today, I want to talk about a mistake that almost all of us make at some point. It feels harmless in the moment. In fact, it can even feel comforting, but biologically, it can make a bad situation dramatically worse. Picture this. You feel a cold coming on. Maybe it starts with that familiar, scratchy feeling in your throat around lunchtime. By evening, your head feels heavy, your energy is dropping, and you can tell your body is fighting something. You feel miserable. So you do what many people do. You pour a drink. Maybe it's a glass of wine, maybe it's whiskey, maybe it's a hot toddy, because somewhere along the way we were told that alcohol and illness somehow belong together. At first it feels like it's helping. Your muscles relax, you feel a little warmer, the discomfort softens around the edges. For a brief moment it feels like you found a shortcut around being sick. But what most people don't realize is that alcohol doesn't simply mask cold symptoms. It actively competes with your body's recovery process. And the next morning is where the consequences show up. You wake up feeling like your mild cold somehow transformed overnight into something much worse. Your sinuses feel packed solid, your throat feels dry, your head is pounding, your body feels weak, you slept terribly, and getting out of bed feels almost impossible. Most people assume the virus simply progressed. They think the illness naturally got worse. But there is another explanation. Your body was already working overtime before that first drink ever entered your system. The moment a virus enters your body, your immune system launches an enormous response. Specialized immune cells begin searching for infected tissue. Inflammatory compounds are released. Energy gets redirected away from non-essential functions. Your body essentially starts operating in emergency mode. Fighting an infection is expensive. It requires huge amounts of energy and resources. In a sense, your body is already working a second job. Then, alcohol arrives. Now, your system has an entirely new problem to solve. It must process the alcohol, neutralize toxic byproducts, manage inflammation, replace lost fluids, and repair damage caused by alcohol metabolism. The liver becomes the center of this conflict. Your liver plays a major role in supporting immune function. It helps regulate inflammation. It filters toxins from the bloodstream. It helps maintain stability while your immune system is under attack. But alcohol changes the priority list instantly. The body treats alcohol as a toxin that requires immediate attention, so the liver shifts resources toward processing the alcohol first. Imagine an exhausted emergency response team working around the clock to contain a wildfire. Then suddenly, someone calls in a chemical spill. The crew has no choice. They have to split their attention. That is essentially what happens inside your body. The cold is still there, the immune system is still fighting, but now recovery has competition, and this creates something researchers call sickness behavior. Most people assume the exhaustion and lack of motivation that come with illness are simply side effects, but they're actually part of a highly coordinated survival strategy. When inflammatory compounds reach the brain, they trigger changes in behavior. Your thinking slows down, your motivation drops, you lose interest in doing things, you feel like staying in bed all day. That isn't weakness, it's biology. Your brain is intentionally encouraging rest because rest allows more energy to be directed toward healing. Your body is essentially forcing you to conserve resources. But alcohol complicates this process. Alcohol creates additional inflammation. It introduces compounds that the brain must process, and it amplifies the very signals responsible for mental fog and fatigue. Now, your brain is not only managing a viral infection, it's also dealing with alcohol-related stress. The result is a much deeper level of exhaustion, a much heavier brain fog, and a much stronger feeling that you've been completely flattened by the illness. Then comes one of the most frustrating symptoms of all, congestion. Because hydration is absolutely critical when you're sick, your body relies on mucus to trap viruses and move them out of your respiratory system. When you're properly hydrated, that mucus stays thin and mobile. It can move through your sinuses and airways efficiently. Think of it like a conveyor belt carrying unwanted material out of your body. But alcohol is a powerful diuretic. It suppresses a hormone called vasopressin. Normally, vasopressin tells your kidneys to hold on to water. Alcohol shuts that signal down. Your kidneys begin releasing fluid rapidly, and before long, dehydration starts taking hold. When dehydration enters the picture, that helpful mucus changes dramatically. Instead of remaining thin and fluid, it becomes thick and sticky. The conveyor belt slows down. Eventually, it almost stops completely, and that's when congestion begins to build. Pressure increases inside the sinuses, drainage slows, the headaches become worse, and suddenly the cold feels much more severe than it did before you started drinking. And unfortunately, the problems don't stop with congestion, because fighting an illness requires energy, a lot of energy. Even when you're lying in bed doing absolutely nothing, your immune system is burning through resources at an accelerated rate. The challenge is that most people eat less when they're sick. Appetite drops, food becomes less appealing, and your body starts relying more heavily on stored energy reserves. Normally, your liver helps regulate this process by releasing glucose into the bloodstream. That steady supply of fuel helps maintain energy levels while your body fights the infection. But alcohol interferes with that system. The liver becomes focused on processing ethanol. As a result, glucose production becomes less efficient, blood sugar stability suffers, and the next day, many people experience crushing fatigue, weakness, shakiness, brain fog, and intense cravings for highly processed foods. It feels like the illness suddenly got worse, but part of what you're experiencing is an energy crisis created by alcohol metabolism. And then we arrive at perhaps the biggest misconception of all: sleep. A lot of people believe alcohol helps them sleep when they're sick. On the surface, it certainly appears that way. Alcohol is a depressant. You drink it, you become drowsy, you fall asleep quickly. Problem solved. Except it isn't, because falling asleep and recovering during sleep are not the same thing. Real sleep is an active biological process. During deep sleep, your body produces important immune compounds. Growth hormone is released. Damaged tissue begins repairing itself. Inflammation gets regulated. The brain clears metabolic waste. Your body performs an enormous amount of maintenance while you sleep. Alcohol disrupts nearly all of it. Although it may help you lose consciousness faster, it suppresses important stages of restorative sleep, including REM sleep and deep slow-wave sleep. Your body spends more time in lighter, less restorative stages. Then another problem appears. As alcohol is metabolized during the night, the nervous system begins pushing back. Early in the evening, alcohol increases calming brain activity, but as it wears off, the brain rebounds in the opposite direction. Excitatory chemicals increase, heart rate rises, night sweats become more common, sleep becomes fragmented. You may not even remember waking up, but your brain is constantly being pulled away from the deep restorative sleep required for healing. So you spend 8 hours in bed, yet wake up feeling like you barely slept at all, because biologically, much of the recovery process never happened. And while all of this is occurring, alcohol is also draining some of the exact nutrients your body desperately needs. One of the most important is thiamine, also known as vitamin B1. Thiamine plays a critical role in energy production. It helps convert food into usable cellular energy. When you're sick, demand for thiamine rises because your immune system is working harder than normal. Alcohol increases thiamine depletion while simultaneously interfering with absorption. The result is less energy available at the exact moment your body needs more. Then there's glutathione. Think of glutathione as one of the body's most important internal defense systems. When your immune system attacks a virus, it generates oxidative stress. That process helps destroy pathogens, but it also creates collateral damage. Glutathione helps clean up that damage. It protects healthy cells, it supports recovery, and it helps maintain balance during illness. The problem is that alcohol creates its own enormous oxidative burden. A toxic byproduct called acetaldehyde must be neutralized. To do that, the body burns through large amounts of glutathione. Now, the resources that should be helping you recover from the cold are being redirected toward managing alcohol-related damage instead. Your body is fighting two battles at once, one against the virus, one against the alcohol, and both require the same limited resources. Which brings us to the most important takeaway from today's discussion. When you're sick, your immune system already has a full workload. It doesn't need extra assignments. It needs support. It needs hydration. It needs nutrients. It needs stable blood sugar. And above all, it needs high-quality sleep. The simplest thing you can do while recovering is remove unnecessary obstacles. Give your immune system one job instead of two. Drink fluids consistently. Eat nourishing foods even if your appetite isn't perfect. Protect your sleep and take alcohol-free days while your body heals, because the goal isn't simply to feel better for an hour. The goal is actually to recover. I think there's a bigger lesson hidden inside all of this. Most of us treat symptoms like enemies. The fatigue, the desire to stay in bed, the lack of motivation, the need for rest. We view them as inconveniences, something to push through, something to suppress. But what if those symptoms are actually intelligent signals? What if your body isn't failing you? What if it's guiding you? The next time you feel a cold coming on and you're tempted to numb the discomfort with a drink, pause for a moment. Ask yourself one question. Are you helping your body's recovery team do its job, or are you giving it a second battle to fight? Something worth thinking about. Take care of yourselves, stay hydrated, get some rest, and I'll talk to you again soon. That's a wrap for today's episode. If you got something out of this, do me a quick favor, leave a rating and review on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. It helps keep the show going and would mean the world to me. Got ideas, comments, or questions? Shoot me an email at mike@trycloud9.com. I'd love to hear from you. And if you're looking for extra support, check out Cloud9, makers of Daily Restore, a once-a-day supplement to support your body from alcohol's effects, and Rise and Unwind AM/PM, a 24-hour combo to curb cravings, balance mood, and improve sleep when taking a break. Go to trycloud9.com and use the code PODCAST to save 15% on your next order. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.